Aloha, friends and neighbors. Rollin Frost here, an astrologer living on the Kona coast of the Big Island. Lucky we live in Hawaii. We're going to cover the middle of March here, 2015, on the Sky Mirror for you. Find out what's coming up. And as you can see already, the main theme is going to be Saturn. We're going to dig into Saturn a little bit and what he's all about. Hope you enjoy it. So here he is in the Sky Mirror. I draw him big because he's powerful right now. Slower the planet moves, the more strong he is. And when he slows down and stops, which happens to be it's 3 o'clock a.m. on March 14th. It happens that it's Friday the 13th. This is 3 a.m. in the morning. See, you might just think of it like he's going to stop on Friday the 13th. Easy to remember, huh? And when he stops, what happens? He makes things cold. He freezes things. He crystallizes things also. That's what little snowflakes are. They're crystals, huh? Of water ice. 3069. They're all built on the same magical geometry as astrology is. You know, the hexagon. So water crystallizes into snowflakes, which are kind of just like charts. I used to use a snowflake as my business card because my name is Rollin Frost. I'm a rolling frost, a snowflake. Get it? Anyway, I always thought people, you know, are like snowflakes because snowflakes are never duplicated. Every single one is a little different, just like people, because every single chart's a little bit different. Yeah, it changes even 1 minute. There's a difference between twins. The timing of the... Anyway, I won't get into it too much except to say, boy, gonna get cold. You could also become very judgmental. You could become fearful. You could become dehydrated. The first answer to Saturn's worries is drink a lot of water. Don't get dehydrated. Saturn dries things up and makes it cold. Oh boy, I was in Colorado not so long ago, and it's been a month now. My nose is just recovering. It's so dry and it's so cold. Eek! Oh boy. Well, what's it going to be like for you? We're going to run the moon around the edge of this pattern. And as it goes around, it makes angles to the other planets. Those same angles there are in a snowflake. Yeah, 60 degrees, 120 degrees. Those are sextiles and trines. Those are the good ones. That makes a blue planet here and says, oh, nice stuff. These actors on the stage are working well and easily. The red ones have to do with the 90-degree angles and the 180-degree angles where there's stress. There's obstacles, there's difficulties, there's high energy. You got to run fast. So Friday night, the 6th, this is a week away from Saturn's station. He's getting strong. 20 days on either station, I would count the strength of the thing. I found out this secret because I did intensive studies once on the coast of Kauai with a friend and a client who had a mansion out there on the cliff, and he was full of computers and he had all the data on the stock market. And so I went back to see what happened in the stock market when Saturn slowed down and stopped. Well, it starts 20 days before the place it stopped, and it went 20 days afterwards. Yes, and what would happen would be the price of gold would go up, because the slower Saturn moves, the more fearful people become. And so what they do is they go and buy gold to make themselves more secure. And when they buy more gold, price of gold goes up. Yeah. Now, interesting, I did Jupiter. When Jupiter, who's the opposite of Saturn, comes along, and he slows down and stops, 20 days on either side of the station, which for you is Friday the 13th, 20 days on either side of it, people get optimistic. Saturn makes you pessimistic. He's like the old grump. Just think of Saturn like he's half the Grim Reaper and he's half the old Grinch, you know, in the Christmas story, the guy with the pen, and he's adding up the money and stashing it away, and all he cares about is money, because Saturn is the cross of matter over the crescent of people. The crescent are the faces of people. The cross of matter is this physical stuff. Yeah, mainly money. So Saturn puts money on top and people below, and he gets in, you know, he's good money manager, yeah. People don't like him though, huh? That's the way he is. So you have a chance to be a good money manager Friday night, the 6th, because as the moon is in Libra, at sextile Saturn, there's a 60-degree angle to Saturn, and you can make good budgetary sense and long-term planning and foundation building and make people more safe because you know about the physical world. So here's a chance to freeze some things. That's what a manager does, yeah? He lays down the law. Here's the guys that make the laws. The lawmaker, they know. Okay, so you can make some good laws. You could manage the budget a little better here. A good time to do it. Stay up late Friday night. This is actually 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, Saturday, the 7th of March. And things are going to get really active. It starts off pretty good. In the breakfast time, you've got a nice conjunction to the North Node. The North Node, this little upside-down horseshoe, is mothering flows out of it. It's a moon thing, yeah. So everybody feels like mothering and nurturing, at least until the middle of the day. And then there's Mars. It has an opposition to Mars. And Mars is right next to Uranus, and Venus is too. Well, remember the Venus-Mars thing, what Ben said, not good to get sexy when this is happening. So Mars is fallen behind, Venus has gotten ahead now. And so they're separated by, you know, like 6 degrees here. But the thing is, Uranus is between them. And he makes things zap, quick, bang, whiz, bang, turn it on, turn it off, separations, glitches, sudden. Now this is a where they suddenly fall in love. Here's your one-night stand. Here's this sudden love at first sight sort of thing, you know, and it's all there within, you know, 6 degrees. So there's a lot of zap and a lot of bite in it. Okay. The thing is, while it's going on, you ain't too happy with it over here on Saturday night. Of course, this is going to set it off, too. So you take your favorite girlfriend out, and one of your old buddies shows up and steals her. And it happens so sudden, you turn around, she was gone. That's what it feels like Saturday night. So look, it's not a good time for a party. It's not a good time for lovers stuff. It's, you know, it's time to think over your pleasures and think about what might be hurting you and what you should cut back on, and get rid of the sloth is Venus, and the laziness is Venus, and the love of money is, you know, no. You know, how about, what would your dog think about this? Wisdom pops up in the middle of it all. Okay, this is zappy, and it's difficult, and there's problems with airplanes and locomotives and electrical things. And Mars and Venus could be out there alone. And this is not a time to take the girl out to some remote place to neck in the car. No, car ain't going to start. So, Saturday night, freaky, weird, sexy, okay? Yeah. Anyways, it goes through Sunday morning on the 8th. You're still thinking about it here. You're still feeling the impact of the thing is happening kind of late Saturday night. See the Uranus mark? That's like 10, 11 o'clock Saturday night. And there's Venus about 1 a.m. in the morning. Mars starts it all. He wants to do some mothering and nurturing, but he gets all antsy. And I want some too, you know, and that starts in the middle of Saturday. By the time you're done, and you know, Sunday morning, in the middle of Sunday, the square from Pluto pops up, and well, that's early Sunday morning. That's 2 a.m. in the morning with Uranus. What's blue? Oh, Mercury. You can talk it out. Hopefully you can talk it out a little bit on Sunday, but you might just keep your head down for the weekend, because there could be weird things, including earthquakes, tornadoes, all those Uranus stuff. Monday, the moon goes into Scorpio on March 9th. And Monday night, here's a trine to Neptune. There's music, art, color, sensitivity, good time to read Jesus. On Tuesday morning, you're still feeling kind of high from it all, and there's a sextile to Pluto. Well, first there's an opposition. No, that's a square, 90 degrees. You get stuck in, I'm trying to do too much. There's too much on my platter here at breakfast time, Tuesday the 10th. And towards the middle of the day, though, the sextile to Pluto clicks in, and you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. But you know, it's not a time to jump off and try to do things. No. Jupiter, huh? Lawyers and professors, wise men. You see them a lot as lawyers in your experience. More on that later. Anyway, you're kind of getting stuff done, and your ambition returns here Tuesday night, Tuesday afternoon. There's a trine to the sun, and maybe you've recovered. Hope so. Wednesday, it's a split day. The moon's in Scorpio the first half of the day, and it still feels pretty good if you didn't overdo it. But the middle of Wednesday, the moon shifts into Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. And that's a mutable fire sign, and things get more active. The kids like it. With Mercury there, there's a nice, what is that? That's a trine, yeah. Anyway, kids are happy, communicating Wednesday night, and then here comes Neptune in square, and golly, this is, excuse me, this Mercury, okay, is that wrong? Well, you're probably not going to feel it much anyway. There's a little music Thursday morning because you're in the Saturn zone. I mean, truthfully, from the minute that the moon goes into Sagittarius, it's going to get cold. It's going to get scary. You know, is the bank going to take my house? Eek! What are those guys in blue suits doing? We elect them leaders and they turn into Scrooge. What the heck? Well, Scrooge is on the make here, and Saturn's like to make some laws that'll fill his pockets and his friends' pockets. And it ain't good for the people. No. This is business at its worst, you know, when Saturn is stopped like this. And they will do things that will hurt a lot of people to save money. And don't you do it now. You just save a little bit. Little by little. Saturn's very patient. If you want to save money, little by little every day you can save money. Doesn't have to be a big thing. If you're a little bit inspired and you want to get organized, do it. Rebuild some foundations. Be responsible. Do it low key. Do it smaller. Saturn likes to make everything smaller and more efficient. And Thursday morning is a time to figure that out. Uranus comes on here. There's a trine to Uranus Thursday night, and the Brotherhood will like it, and the technical things are in line, and we can use the internet and promote this, and there's a lot of new age ideas pop up here Thursday. It's not bad. Let's see, there's a trine to Jupiter here. That's got to be at the same time Thursday night, 14 degrees. I just didn't draw it in. Uranus is at 15 and Jupiter's at 14. So first you get wise new expansions, and then zap, there's a new high-tech way to get it done. And Thursday night is the day to do your, what do they call it, exploring new things. And you know, late here, this is 2-3 in the morning, Friday morning, the 13th of Friday. It's cold, everything's all frozen up. But here's some sweets for you. Stay in bed Friday morning. Yeah, there's a trine to Venus. Mars is there, but he's lagging behind. You got the heroes are out here about the time the brilliant ideas come up. And you can do things, physical stuff. Knock it off when you get to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. You lost your ambition there. Besides, you know, you need to stay in bed late Friday the 13th. You'll be glad I told you about this little clue. Now, Friday the 13th, okay? Saturn is stopping right here. So, Saturn is a bad guy. The bad side of him is big things fall on people. Yeah, ugh. Some truths about Saturn for you to mull over Friday night, Saturday morning, is he is the Grim Reaper. And the way he moves is 3 steps forward, 1 step back in the sky, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. First, he goes by here and the judge says, okay, come back next and plead, come back here and plead. Then bang, guilty or not guilty. He takes his time. The boss might, if the boss is a Saturn character, he'd probably tell you 6 months ahead of time that, you know, you better look around. On the bad side of him, if he's not rebuilding a foundation and trying to get things smaller so they're survivable, he kills things. Yeah. Now here's the truth I learned. Freezing is a nice death. I learned this when I was working the oil business way up in Alberta, north of Edmonton even, and some guy tried to walk into Edmonton in the middle of the night. Beautiful, clear air. Edmonton looked like it was a half a mile away. It was 10 miles. He barely got into the park on the edge of Edmonton and figured he was saved. And oh, great, man, he sat down and he began to feel warm and he got a nice smile on his face, and that's how they found him the next day, with a smile. Freezing is a way that's painless. If we have a wounded mouse here, you know, the cat brings in, and I know he can't live, we're going to not let him suffer. We just slip him into the freezer and he dies with a smile. So, you know, I tried to get the local animal shelter to think about doing this. Anyway, that's the good side of Saturn, a nice, painless, easy, get warm, get a smile, drift off into sleep, get a morphine drip, some Brompton's cocktail. But there are other ways too. Some of the worst of it was they used to execute people by, they'd put a door on top of them, lay them down on the ground, put a door on them, and then everybody would come along and put a rock on the door. Each little rock, pretty soon the door is piled up with rocks. The person underneath can't breathe and is slowly just suffocated and crushed. And everybody, this is a, what is this, civilized stoning? You see all about stoning and the, well, let him without sin throw the first stone, Jesus said. Saturn stuff, huh? Saturn, ugh, he crystallizes. That's what snowflakes and ice are, crystallizing. He also rules a lot of gemstones because they're crystallized matter. So, I forgot where I left off. I left off while you're in the midst of it all, Friday night the 13th, and in the morning of Saturday you have good thoughts and you're inspired in an artistic, religious way, Saturday in the middle of the day. And the moon's in Capricorn. It moved into Capricorn late Friday night, the 13th, which is a cold sign and is ruled by Saturn. You can see him here upside down. So Capricorn is normally cold and crystallizes things. People in the old days used to have a big clock in the square, and everybody go hang out in the square until Capricorn was rising, then they'd sign all their contracts. Yeah. So, trouble is here, Saturday night late, there's Uranus. Moon's going to go by Pluto. It's panicky. There's a square to Uranus. Ugh. Sudden panicky. The lights went out, the power's down, the ice fell off of the tree limb fell on the electric line. People don't have power, they're isolated, it's scary, it's panicky. And Sunday morning there's a square to Mars. Where's the heat? The heat's gone. Ugh. Finally Sunday afternoon there's a sextile to the sun. You get a plan together and say, well, we can do this, we can do that, but you're not out of the woods because there's a square to Venus here Sunday night late around midnight. No comfort Sunday, huh? So I think this, you know, you've gotten used to this weekend mess from the Uranus-Pluto square, huh? I mean, geez, you know, I didn't even draw it in. Look at that. That's silly. Okay, there it is. In its proper place. I get so involved with this Saturn squaring Neptune. And this square is going to go on for a while, as I told you last week. So we're going to start watching the second square too. Two major planets and locked in difficulties. But Uranus and Pluto are still there, and they're still locked in difficulties, although Uranus is getting help from Jupiter. Hooray, the ACLU comes to the aid of the environmentalists. Anyway, wow, Saturday starts nice and easy, ends in chaotic, I'm alone, panicky feelings. Sunday, there's a lot of work to do, and it's hard, it's difficult. You feel a little better Sunday afternoon, but still can't get no comfort Sunday night, just the way it is. This ugly Saturn time in our history. Okay, here's a Saturn story for you. Some years ago, my father-in-law, one of the most prominent astronomers on the island, threw Kepler in my face. We had nice spirited arguments because he thought astrology was... Kepler once said it was the poor child of astronomy. So I dug into Kepler, and what I found out was amazing. Now here you got Wikipedia, and they're a little more honest. They don't say, oh, he was just an astronomer. They actually say that he was an astronomer and astrologer. So what happened is, accidental, Kepler was in his early 20s. He wasn't even quite educated, and he got a job as a cleanup boy, so to speak, the low man on the ladder at Tycho Brahe's big astronomy setup. Now, the King of Denmark had built this lab for Tycho Brahe, who was one of the famous astrologers of his age. And Kepler happened to get a job there in his early 20s. And then, bang, Tycho Brahe died. A lot of people bailed out. Kepler was left there, and suddenly he had the job of doing the almanac for the whole state and lots of Europe. And people, and especially it was involved with things that happened with the weather and things. So Kepler didn't have a clue. He barely knew his geometry and math, but he went through some books, and doggone, he found out that in the winter, the coming winter, Saturn stationed and Mars was pretty messed up, and Mars is heat, and so they put Mars out of business, elevated Saturn, and so Kepler wrote down there would be an extraordinarily cold time. I forget what, at the end of March or something. Now, in his notes, what occurred was amazing. He got a letter from somebody who said, boy, were you right, because somebody came in from the cold into our house and blew his nose, and his nose fell off. His nose was frozen. It was so cold. And Kepler said, oh, wow, maybe there's something to astrology. So he went on to do a lot of astrology, but he was primarily a mathematician. And Kepler got into it all because he made a kind of accidental prediction for cold. It's going to get cold. Saturn's stopping. Yep. Okay, I'm going to take the last few minutes here to bitch and gripe. And Ben Franklin hated lawyers and judges, and he made a joke once he wrote in his almanac about these two homeless guys found a clam, and they argued over who was going to get it so much they took it to court. And when the court got done, the judge said, look, okay, you take this half, homeless man, this shell, and the other homeless man get the other shell, and the center will be divided between the judge and the lawyers. Oh boy. Okay, so what happens is they went into court, they get a whole bunch of money from tobacco companies who have lied to us, like the people about pot. They'll never be brought to the bar. But they lied to us about tobacco. There's a famous one where all 10 of the big tobacco company CEOs stood up and said, I swear I don't think tobacco is addictive. I mean, whoa, and they got away with it. Anyway, They didn't get away with it. They got a lot of money. And what happened is, after they won the case, there's all this money there. Now, they apportion the money out to the various states. And Hawaii gets $50 million annually. 50 million bucks. Why? Because people were injured by tobacco. Okay, so now we got $50 million. What happens? Well, they start to, politicians, Saturn, and the lawyers that are on the staff of various corporate entities got involved. Now, I got to tell you, one of the things that really offended me the most is when certain people at UH decided to get rid of the School of Public Health. Folks, there was only two good ones, the one we had in Hawaii and Harvard. Yeah, I got a Master of Science from the School of Public Health, a wonderful education. Doctors and MDs don't get any public health thing. They don't study epidemics. They don't study nutrition. They don't study, you know, they pretty much just get involved in a little chemistry and learn how to state all the big words and get to a specialty. And doggone, there never was a doctor that helped anybody out over the tobacco thing. No. And they never really helped cure anybody of tobacco addiction. They never admitted tobacco was addictive. The doctors weren't there. So what happened? Well, somebody in their wisdom dumped the School of Public Health and put in the John H. Burns School of Medicine, started training MDs to go push pills. I'm sorry, I'm not happy with that. That really, that School of Public Health served the whole Pacific Basin. Here, Hawaii only spends 62% of the recommended tobacco prevention and control spending level set by the CDC. We're not spending the money. Where's the money gone? Well, all these guys are going to fight over it. And one of them is the John A. Burns School of Medicine. Oh, give us some of those millions so we can train more pill pushers after they offed the public health school. I am totally disgusted. I mean, this money should have gone not to prevention, but to help the injured people. 50 million bucks a year. How many people are ruined their life because of the tobacco thing? You know, it exacerbates asbestosis. If you don't smoke tobacco, asbestos go in your lungs, probably get coughed out. But if you smoke tobacco, look out. None of this is going to who it's supposed to go to. Well, guess who got the center of the clam, huh? Not the injured people, the corporates. Bug. Bum. And they still tell you VOG is harmful. Ha ha ha. Take the money and run.